Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
And I'm number one fan, Tim.
This is the third episode we will do in a row on coronavirus. It is the last episode we will ever fucking do on the coronavirus.
Please.
But this will be the most interesting and controversial.
I don't know. The last one I had a lot to say, so that was interesting to me.
Yeah, but that was more just kind of kicking tires and ideas and wondering. We're postulating theories as to why this is all going down and was it all worth it. I would like to spend the next, I don't know how many minutes here, pointing the finger of blame. Because what we're not doing enough of is going, what the fuck, China?
Oh, really?
That's the whole crux of the episode.
What the fuck?
Buckle up and let me get it out of my system.
Let's go for it.
Okay.
I can sit here and listen.
The first episode we did on this topic, I alluded to, or we both mentioned, it's China's fucking fault. But
I said it originated there, but...
It did originate there. So whose
it's
fucking
proven
fault
fact
is
that
it?
It was nowhere else before that? And they just got the blame?
It
like
is projected
it was in India or something?
in mid-November. The first case is suspected mid-November, China.
Okay.
And it spread from there.
So do you think it's racist to say it's a Chinese virus now?
No, that's fucking ridiculous. If it came from China, it's not necessarily the Chinese virus, but it is a virus that originated in China. Potato, potato. Sit the fuck down, liberals. Nobody fucking cares about your feelings. I will call it the Kung Flu because that's a good way to disarm all my panic and anxiety is with comedy. It's the Kung Flu. Our president said it. Pat on the back. Good for you. You're going to pay for it later, whatever. But fuck it. I don't care.
Whatever. I do what I want.
China did this to the world. If I'm other countries, I'm going to say, you fucking owe us.
Big time.
Big time. Now, we're not seeing death rates like Italy. But our economy has a death rate comparable to Italy in the long run because how many new small businesses open and are going to get fucked and never recover? How many restaurants, like 50% of restaurants fail within the first year, they say.
Yep. And then I think it's another 50% within the first 5 years. Something like that.
What is this going to do to small restaurants and small businesses? What is this going to do to people that were hourly workers? Why the fuck are we not going, hey, China, what the fuck? What do we owe them, like $1 trillion fucking dollars or something like that?
How about a little debt forgiveness?
Oh, I would, no, it's not asking. You're saying, fuck you. Whatever our economy suffers, whatever we have to pay people in stimulus checks, we are writing that shit off as the stupid tax. And you're footing that fucking bill because you pieces of shit. And this is how I'm going to break down the history of how this got here and everywhere else. In China, they have open-air bazaars that they call wet markets.
You.
Okay, so there's the Tai Po wet market in Hong Kong. It's quite obvious why the term wet is used. Live fish in open tubs splash water all over the floor. The countertops of the stalls are red with blood as fish are gutted and filleted right in front of the customer's eyes. Live turtles and crustaceans climb over each other in boxes. Melting ice adds to the slush on the floor. There's lots of water, blood, fish scales, and chicken guts.
That's
things
fucking
that are wet.
disgusting.
There's also animal feces. That's something that I read before that was not in this article when I got it.
People want to know why I'm not want to travel the world. I don't even want to fucking go to Mexico. This is exactly why.
Right.
I am not interested in that.
Okay. So how this relates to the coronavirus. This type of virus typically is in bats.
Oh, really? Okay.
Bats. Or when viruses jump, they're called zoonotic viruses. They jump from animals to humans. And the way that they do that is they are spread to an intermediate animal. MERS, SARS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That shit jumps from the host animal, the carrier, to this other animal somehow. Here's how this happened this time. They believe that COVID-19 stems from bats. Bats have a high enough body temperature that the virus doesn't affect them. And then it went from bats to a pangolin. If you don't know what that is, it is like an armored anteater. It looks like an armadillo with an anteater's nose. They're I'm air quoting this, exotic. There's a trade for them in Nigeria, and the target is on your back right now too, you dirty motherfuckers. So, bats to pangolins. Pangolins around humans. Humans get the virus. It jumps from bats, it gets to the pangolins, and it mutates enough to cross from that intermediate species to humans. That is how this happened.
Because each species jump, there's got to be a mutation. If I'm remembering some of the stuff that I've learned in high school. Because, yeah, sometimes stuff, like diseases that cats get, we can't get them unless you have AIDS. You know, because your immune system is just destroyed.
So now, the reason that people are spiking fevers with this is because our internal temperature is not set to naturally fight these viruses. So our temperatures spike up when we're sick.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But the bats, it won't affect them. Now, if we were as warm-blooded as bats, this,
Probably
not to turn a
either.
phrase, you wouldn't have to bat an eye at this. Because it wouldn't affect us as bad.
Turn that fucking phrase.
So now, the reason it relates to the wet markets is exotic animals are sold and traded there. It's not legal, but they don't clamp down enough.
How
And
many
it's
people are in
stemmed in
China?
China.
How are they supposed to clamp down on that?
They have
Yeah.
1 point whatever billion people. Over a billion fucking people in China. And you think, why the hell does this not ravage them?
Probably is ravaging them. They're just hiding it.
Well, that's another good point, is that the government strictly controlled all the information.
They hid it to begin with, and we're like, oh, no, it's only a couple thousand, we're fine.
And there was the first doctor that said this is a problem, and suddenly he got Khashoggi'd and disappeared.
Yep.
You like how he turned that into a verb?
Yeah.
So now back to the wet markets have the animals, and the jumping from bats to the pangolin to us in the past. What was it? MERS and SARS were originally bat viruses that spread to an intermediate animal. Camels with MERS and the civet cat. It's a type of wild cat. Mm-hmm. Very loose term. Civet. C-I-V-E-T.
Earth documentary.
All right, that's where SARS came from. And humans are exposed to the viruses, and then it just wreaks havoc on us because our immune systems are not adapted to handle this shit.
Surprisingly enough, yeah.
Right. So, genetic analysis of SARS-CoV-2 shows that the closest genetic relatives appear to be bat coronaviruses, with the role of the intermediate species possibly played by the pangolin, and endangered species trafficked in China for its scales and meat. So, zoonotic origins is how they're phrasing that, where it jumps from the animal to humans.
Yeah.
I feel like a fucking teacher today. This is neat.
Well, you taught me a couple of things. I didn't know some of this, so.
You don't say.
Okay, so when you talk about how this goes from an animal host to a human host, what are the odds that the conditions are just right for that virus to land on a new host and be like, hey, wait a minute, I can change a little bit and fuck up this other species?
Okay, so with my limited knowledge from my research, I'm not going to claim to be an expert on this by any measure, but I've read enough stuff now that I have a rudimentary understanding to answer your question. One, the density of population there played a part, and the amount of open travel amongst the world is what spread it to all these other countries.
Well, I understand how it spread, but how does it go from
and I'm
not
there.
affecting... Okay.
I'm getting there. So now to answer your first part of your question, how does it get from bat to human? Between the bat and the pangolin, there needs to be enough common genetic bridging for it to cross over.
You're talking about like genetic traits.
Yeah, well,
Kind of. I mean,
the genetic
like,
makeup of the animal from the bat to the pangolin, or
like
in the past from the bat to the camel. Well, just the way that the DNA is structured.
Okay.
If I'm understanding this correctly. So then you go, well, how did it get from the pangolin to the humans? Genetic bridging again. And another reason why I think this has been so rampant is what time of year did it hit?
Yeah, middle of winter.
Cold and flu season.
Yep.
So there's all these other things that are going on every year, and the flu kills more people than this could.
Virus has so far, yeah. What is it, 16,000 a year for flu? I heard it was like 16,000.
Well, the point there is that there's enough people in a weakened genetic state from the usual rounds of colds and flus and other shit going around that it makes people more susceptible to this shit latching on, and it needs to find the perfect host. So just like in the movie Outbreak, if we're going to go back to that, All right? The
yeah.
monkey was sick, and then it was around the guy. It was Dr. McDreamy there from fucking Grey's Anatomy, sneaks the monkey off the ship and then out of the place.
Oh my God, I just realized who that guy was.
Yeah.
Patrick Dempsey.
Yes.
From Can't Buy Me Love.
Yeah. So he sneaks the monkey out, and then there was the tussle between the two monkeys in the pet shop. And
well,
somehow,
the one took the other one's banana.
yes.
And that's just the saliva from the monkey
from the
eating banana
went from monkey to monkey.
Yeah, but they were both the same species monkey.
Yes. But the monkey that took the banana scratched the shop owner. That's how he got it. Patrick Dempsey is exposed to this fucking thing, and then he's got the germs around him. Well, it gets into him, and suddenly it mutates to be airborne. So it was originally in like saliva and blood or scratches, and then it
kind of
morphs into some sort of respiratory thing. That's why they say when they find the monkey, this isn't the original monkey.
They were saying no, because I remember the movie. I watched it actually a ton of
I
times.
watched it a few weeks ago, and it was
they found the one
strange.
in the pet shop, and but they're like, this is our host. Like, no, this one's sick. So when they started checking that one, it had the original virus, which was not airborne, and then it said somewhere between that monkey and Patrick Dempsey's character, it mutated. So they thought maybe the host was carrying both viruses, and it had antibodies for both.
So it goes to show now the odds of them tracking down the original pangolin that had this. To take the strain that jumped from them to humans.
I'm still just dumbfounded that the conditions were perfect for one person to get it, and it just went, pooh!
Well, that's all it took in the movie. It's basically life imitating art that was imitating life.
Yeah, because wasn't the Motaba based off of Ebola? I think that's what it was.
Yes, a
I think
hemorrhagic
even
fever.
the picture that they used in the movie was actually Ebola. So
probably, yeah, it was all based upon Ebola.
Okay,
but that's how these things work. Now, it's not just this reason why I don't have the greatest love for the Chinese.
For one, their shoes suck.
I don't know how to respond to that statement. I can't fact check that. Their shoes suck?
And most of the stuff I get that's made in China is shit.
Well, they were poisoning our kids for years with toxic painted toys.
On
because
purpose
they have
or an accident?
Both. They don't give a fuck because they're profit driven. They're profit driven, and you just fucking hand walked me into my next point, you beautiful son of a bitch. China. I hate them because they pollute the world. And I mentioned
their air is fucking gross.
It's gross. And I said there was an environmental conference there a few years back, and they shut down the factories for 3 days, and suddenly people were like, oh my God, the sky's blue?
You
No
can
way.
see the sky. Holy shit.
Yeah. Okay, here's some stats. China is the largest air polluter in the world, accounting for almost 30% of greenhouse gases. Its water pollution is among the worst in the world. I'd like to think that Brazil is up there too after the last Olympics there. It's responsible for nearly 30% of the plastic pollution clogging the oceans and is conspicuously absent from the list of countries that have joined the UN Environmental's Clean Seas campaign.
Oh, yeah, they don't want to spend money on that.
No, they'd have to stop making money on shoddy products. It's all about production and generating dollars.
That's all they have is a workforce, isn't it? Aren't they still communist?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Its relatively small supply of groundwater is being depleted and severely polluted at alarming rates. Well, that might have something to do with your over 1 billion fucking people, you stupid cunts.
If you got 1 billion people drinking out of a glass of water, it drains pretty quick.
More than 40% of its soil is degraded, increasing the risk of famines, forcing it to import more and more food.
They have a huge-ass country. You can't tell me some of that can't be farmed.
It's massive.
It's fucking huge. And if I recall correctly, most of that population lives in a few cities. Like, they have skyscraper apartments there. Like, we have single-family homes here.
No, yeah, definitely. They have to because of all the people.
Yeah, well, spread out a little bit, you fucking mooches.
And the last stat I have here, China cut down half its remaining forests between 1980 and 2000, causing widespread floods and a steady increase of deserts.
Wow.
Okay, so we've got the country that we know is killing the planet the most.
Well, their area.
It's
spreading around a little bit, yeah.
It affects us all.
But
It's in the plastic in the oceans. Will eventually ride the tides and migrate here, there, and everywhere. I'm not saying that America doesn't pollute the oceans, but we don't fucking poison the planet the way they do.
No,
they do
actually make a really good effort not to do it.
They do it in both effort and by volume because of the number of people. So once again, why are we not going, what the fuck, China? The whole world should be staring down the barrel at them. Like, hey, assholes, look what you did. Kick them the fuck out of the UN. Kick them out and say, you're banned. For fucking ever.
The UN. Do we really need a global government? No.
No, but I'm just saying, kick them the fuck out and make an example. Now is the time for the rest of the world to say, enough is enough. Stop it. There's too many people. You're polluting too much. You caused a global pandemic unseen in 100 years. Now, the final death toll will be the benchmark for this, but I'm just saying, the way that we're reacting is the way we reacted to the Spanish flu. If the original projections of death were to hold steady, I would think this would be comparable eventually to, what, the plague? You would think? World War II death numbers? Safer, probably? I mean, percentage of population.
Affected in general, or are you talking deaths?
Well, I don't know the numbers of how many people died from the plague.
Well, the number of people that could be affected by this, yeah. I mean, the number of people that died in World War II, I would say is the number of people that are going to be affected by this. Meaning, they got the virus, they either got through it, or some of them died. For plague numbers, I think the plague killed far more people than World War II did.
You would think.
There's going to be somewhere to look that up.
So, now, it's clear that China and the U.S. have a love-hate relationship. We do business by convenience, but ultimately, by getting all these cheap goods, we're fucking ourselves over. They're fucking us without any lubrication. I know you're not going to make as big a profits if you bring back the jobs stateside. And I hate to go all fucking yay America, but it just stands to reason why so many politicians that have won elections have said, we need to bring jobs back. I mean, that was one of the biggest parts of Trump's original platform, was it not?
It was. I don't know if he's still doing it.
Well, he wanted it to sound good.
Well, he might even be trying for all I know, but this is a good reason. I mean, even without this, it's something that I believe for years is we need to be more of a self-sufficient country.
Definitely.
We need to stop relying on oil from the Middle East. Yeah, let's use up their reserves first and then we'll still have ours, but why is it every time they talk, oh, there's a possible oil shortage in the Middle East this year?
Fuck them.
Why do we need to panic over here? We have our own reserves. In fact, if I understand, the last report I heard was we had more oil than over there because we're not using it over here. We're buying it from over there. But, I mean, goods and all this stuff, it's like, we can do that here. I mean, fuck profit. Let's be self-sufficient. Let's go back to the way it was in World War II. We were kind of all by ourselves on the other side of the world. Everything was fine. We were isolationists is what we were. And it's what we kind of need to continue to be. You know? I mean, let's be friendly and travel and stuff, but let's not rely on the rest of the world for some of the shit we have.
And I know that the entire concept of this episode, to some people would go, he's racist against the Chinese. No, I'm not. If this would have come from Germany, fuck Germany. Russia, fuck Russia. Yeah. It's all because that's how it started, and the way that they run their society with these fucking loosey-goosey, shoot-from-the-hip regulations.
They don't even regulate. They don't care.
It's all about, oh, well, we don't care about the environment. We need to generate profit. It's all fucking dollar signs over there.
Well, they need to generate profit, again, because they're a communist country. The people there don't make shit. It all goes to the government, and the government gives them what the government thinks they need. That's why they operate the way they operate.
Well, someone would say, fine then, don't buy anything from China anymore. See how you like the cost of things going up. Well, you're telling me there's no other country in the world that can safely and responsibly build all the shit that China does for cheaper? I mean, we've got a nation just below us that's fucking huge that they've sent car companies down there to produce more cheaply. And I know the point of this was to bring jobs back to America, but hey, like I said before, send the military down to Mexico, fucking turn that whole country into the goddamn OK Corral with the drug cartels, put them out of power once and for all. And then anything that we do in China can be done in Mexico. And look, we've cleaned up our neighbor that has now stopped the flow of drugs and violence across our border. And then we give the people that remain there jobs, and Mexico builds its own economy. They're a second world country. I don't
They are.
think they're considered a first world country.
I don't believe they are, no.
So why, if we know that China is such a polluting, disrespectful, disregarding piece of shit of a country, do we keep fucking doing business when all we got to do is pull our troops out of the Middle East because they don't want us there anyway? Let those motherfuckers chop each other's heads off. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, just stay out of our area.
And then we send those soldiers down to Mexico, and then we fucking drive out the cartels, and then we build the plants, and the companies move to Mexico, and we don't need China. And China can suffer because they deserve to. You have fucked up the global economy. It's not just us. I live here. That's why I'm passionate about what's happening here. But in a global sense, you have caused complete fucking chaos not seen in generations.
Yep.
And it stems from lazy ass safety practices. All because it's fucking money over there. So fuck you, China. You can suck my American dick. Something needs to give. It's time to hold the party responsible. And in America, the left-wingers will be like, well, you can't do that. It's racist and nationalist, and we need to embrace our foreign neighbors. And no, I fucking do not.
We need to get along with them, but we don't need to fucking invite them over for tea.
I mean, imagine if Denmark suddenly started leading the world in baby rape.
Ew.
Would we keep letting them build cribs?
What?
No.
Man, you just really put me in a shock there.
Good, that's the point. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast shoe. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann.
And I'm number one fan, Tim.
And that's the end.